Hi everyone, hope you're doing really well. Josh Harrison here. So I just thought it might be helpful if I produce a video that would give you an insight into our chosen property strategy. And I use that word chosen advisedly because it implies there are a number of options that we could have selected. And there are, you see, in property you can do a whole host of things. You can buy a single house, let it out to a single family. It's called single buy to let. You could buy a house and you could let it out per room, and that would be called a house in multiple occupation. You could buy a commercial property and let that out, commercial lease. You can buy an old commercial property and convert it back into apartments, and that would be called a commercial conversion. You can buy a house, do it up and sell it, and that would be called a flip. You could take control of a house, do it up, sell it, take the profits without lots of costs to get into the property, and that's called an assisted sale. You can buy a house that perhaps has a large garden. You can split the title where you still own the house and now you own a separate piece of land. You can sell the land onto a developer for they can develop the house, and you have just what's called split the title. It's called title splitting. You could find a landlord with a house. You can agree to rent it off them for a reduced rate, but guaranteed. And then you can try and let that house either to a single family or per room, and that's called rent to rent. Or you could find a piece of land and build a load of houses on it, 1, 3, 5, 10, 300, 1,000 houses, and that would be called development. So there are a whole host of strategies out there, of which I've just given you a flavour. So what do? We do the single buy-to-let route. We own houses and we let them out on single contracts called ASTs, assured short-hold tenancies, to family tenants. Okay, why do you do that? And really there are principally 4 reasons. 1, you can get paid twice, and that is cash flow. So every single month there'll be a profit. And also you can increase the equity in your property as you hold on to that asset for the long term. So you can get paid twice, cash flow and capital appreciation, which increases your equity in the property. It's also, though, perhaps the most predictable way of increasing rents. So you get cash flow and you get equity, but you can predictably increase those rents. It's also perhaps the least risky strategy, and by that I mean if you think about it, if you're going to own a house and you're going to take a mortgage on it, if anything goes wrong and you don't repay that loan, there is an asset sitting there which the lender can take off you and sell on your behalf. It's called repossession. And an interesting way, because it's the least riskiest, it's therefore the cheapest to borrow. And there's this thing called a risk-based pricing. And if you think about it, you can borrow £75,000, let's say, on a £100,000 house, and you might be paying somewhere in the region of 2%. That's not a huge amount of risk, and therefore the price to borrow that money is a lot less. If you think about a credit card, though, the risk-based pricing on that can be astronomical, something like 40% and plus in terms of the interest you might pay. So it's very safe, and therefore the borrowing is also very cheap. And perhaps this is the icing on the cake for us. It's the easiest to manage, arguably, if you do it right. And that then means it needs not much of our time to manage the properties that we own. Okay, so you do the single buy-to-let route for those key reasons. All right, and what about who you let it to? And the answer to that is families. We've said this before. We do families because typically they stay in a property for the most amount of time. And they can often stay there for 1, 3, 5, 10, 20 years. Although we've never had anything like that because we haven't been going that long. But a family, you see, will have connections. It will have other family members. It will have friends. It will have places of employment. A family will have, if it has children, will have schools that they'll have to attend. And therefore the likelihood of them moving on is much reduced. And that also brings us on to the second point. You see, families mean that they don't need much involvement from a lettings agent or a management company. They don't need much help. They just sit in there and they borrow your house for a period of time. The added benefit of that is, if you have a house and a tenant is sat there, and I've actually done this ourselves, we said, look, this is essentially a rent collect job. You're just collecting rent for us. It's full management, but you're not doing much with respect because we're set it up right. Can we have a conversation about reducing the fee that we pay you? Therefore, reduced fees increases profitability and everyone's happy. So that's the strategy. That's what we do. We do the single buy-to-let model and we let to family tenants. Hope you like it. If you've got any questions or comments, or you think things have come to you as a result of watching this video, then drop those in the comments below and I'll get back to you as I always do. Apart from that, thank you ever so much for watching. We really appreciate your support. Please do remember to give this a thumbs up if you found this video content helpful. It really helps us out, if that's okay. So thank you ever so much for watching. My name is Josh Harrison and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.